everybody. It's Megan with your accounting sidekick, and I am so glad to be here. Today, we are going to talk about getting clear because as part of being a business, we get clear about what our objectives are, our goals are, and our path is. And so, one way that we can translate that into numbers is to put together a budget. Now, I know budget has a lot of negative connotation that gets attached to it. We might feel pressure and anxiety and even a little bit of irritation or annoyingness because who wants to live by a budget, right? But in fact, getting a budget together is you having control over where your money goes. So it's actually making you the boss of your money. And we all want that, right? We want to be able to have control over the things around us, especially in years like this year where things were so kind of all over the place. It's helpful and even a little bit comforting to know that there is some kind of level of control that you have. So when we put together budgets, they're not perfect. So I don't want you to feel like they have to be perfect or they have to be set up in any particular type of fashion. You really got to make it work for you and your business. But putting a budget together really helps you to have more control over what goes on in your business and what goes on in your goals for growing your business. So that is why we talk about getting clear in our objectives and goals by putting together a budget. So I just wanted to show you real quick so that you can kind of get an idea of how this can be a really helpful tool for you. And I'm using a sample company from QuickBooks Online to demonstrate this. And so I'm going to share that with you now. And so in here, so this is QuickBooks Online if you're not familiar, and I'm really excited because we're actually going to have a couple of mini QuickBooks sessions I think this week or early next week, where we're going to be going through a little bit of how to do things in QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online is our preferred software when we have clients for my main business, which is your accounting. This is your accounting sidekick. My main business, which is Sidekick Accounting Services. We do QuickBooks consulting, but so I teach people how to use their QuickBooks. But this is QuickBooks Online. This is how it looks, and it's real nice because you can kind of get things, you know, as a visual thing. This is a sample company, so I don't have any control over what has actually been put in here, but we're going to look at the budgeting aspect of it. So what's really cool is that in QuickBooks Plus, QuickBooks Online Plus, you get this option to do a budget in QuickBooks. But the good thing is that even if you have QuickBooks and you're not using a Plus, you can create a budget on a spreadsheet and it can work just as well. So we are going to look at this budget that I kind of just put together. I didn't even really put it together. I just used the information that was in here. But this is how it kind of looks originally. So you say you can budget out each month, which is what I would recommend you do. Put together a budget for each month. Put in here originally the things that you need to pay. So like rent, utilities, if you have accounting, lawyer, subscription fees, those things that kind of all stay the same no matter what. Those are the things you want to do. And then when it comes to, you know, putting in what your income is and putting in what your cost of goods is, or some of your overhead that might change depending on what you're doing, like materials and labor, that kind of subcontractor costs. Those are the kind of things that you need to kind of take some time to figure out based off of what you know you can make. So kind of going back to profit margins and costing you know, the kind of things that we went over already before. We're looking at those costs that are dependent on how your sales go. And one way that you can kind of do it for budget purposes especially is figure out what the percentage is. So if you know, spend or if you sell X amount of products and services, you know that it's going to cost on average about X amount, then you can use those numbers to put into your budget. And depending on how often you look at your budget, you can always change those things. If you're running a nonprofit, a budget is something that you are supposed to put in order every year and have the board that runs your nonprofit vote on it so that it's a board approved budget every single year. So this is something that you can use QuickBooks for as well. So I'm going to just look, this was the budget for August, and I actually just kind of pulled it from the numbers that were in here for August, so somebody must have did something in here, but that's neither here nor there. So in here, according to this, we'll have $6,000 in sales, and then we'll have, $3,000 in expenses. I don't know what this miscellaneous thing is, so we're just going to go off of these lines. This net operating account will be $1,800. So for August, our budget is to make $1,800, and you typically want to see a cash positive number. So you want to have a net income number every single time you put together your budget. But what's really cool about QuickBooks Online is that, and you can do this in a spreadsheet as well, but you can run a budget versus actual report. So even if you have QuickBooks and you don't have the plus, or you can run this report, you can still run a regular profit and loss report and then just export it to Excel and plug in your budget numbers, so then you can kind of take a look at what this report would show. So we have the column here for what actually happened and the column of what was budgeted, and then you can kind of see what was your over under budget. So what that basically means is like, okay, so here I budgeted for $800 in sales, but I actually was over that budget for $1,400. So we want to be over budget for income, but we don't want to be over budget when it comes to the expenses. And I just kind of copied this. So it's not much of a difference over here, but that is what we're looking at, because then you can kind of see and make operational decisions like, oh, this was way more than I budgeted. Why was that? Or this was way lower. Did I miss a payment? So looking at your budget really helps you to keep an eye on what your business is doing and what it needs to be doing, and kind of helps you to make adjustments. So we run this report typically for our clients that have an annual budget set up. We run this report every month because it really gives an idea of where the business is. So like we said, we're talking about getting clear, right? So making a budget helps us to get clear on what our goals were at the time we made this budget, but then also what they are, currently based off of that. And one other neat thing about the budgeting tool in QuickBooks Online is we can create multiple budgets. So typically what we do is we create like a base budget. So that's like a realistic budget based off of what's already been happening in your business. What do those numbers look like? What is the plan here? Unless there's something concrete, like I'm going to hire somebody, so we can work that into the budget when you're expecting to hire them. But then we create another budget that's like an aspirational, big thinking, top goal budget, because we want to make sure that we're still moving in that right direction, right? We want to get clear with our goals and our direction of our business. So doing that moves us forward. And by being able to look at where you are currently to where you were comparing yourself to be, or expecting or hoping to be, really helps you to start thinking in that direction. And that's what we want to do, because doing these numbers is just as important as getting our minds right and to understanding what those numbers mean, but also thinking about them the right way. And so that's what we're kind of trying to focus on with this digging deeper series that we're running right now. We're digging deeper into what our numbers mean so that we can align our goals and our ambitions and our actions with those goals and move in that positive direction. But we're just using numbers to do it. So this is one way you can get clear about those things, put numbers on it so that you can see on paper where your business is, where you want it to be for the rest of the year, and where you want it to be if everything went right. Now, we know things are probably not all going to go right. There's always something that comes up, but thinking that way positions you to think bigger and better and move in that direction. And that's what we're ultimately shooting for. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Bye.